Storytime about why my aunt put me back into foster care. Yes, she put me back into foster care. So a little background information, I was 15 years old and a sophomore in high school. But whenever I was 12 years old, I was in a very abusive household. And I had 2 younger sisters. One was 11 and the other one was 9. Fast forward, all of us were put into foster care. I got placed into many shelters/group homes because of my behavioral issues. While I was going through all of this, my sisters were both in study homes, so that kind of sucked. I mean, I was happy for them, but at the same time, I was going through hell. But eventually, my grandma and my dad passed away, so my aunt decided that she wanted my sisters and I. So she got her foster license, and the days leading up to whenever we were supposed to move in with her were absolute garbage. There was this one girl who was 19 years old. Her and I did not get along, and I was supposed to leave that Wednesday, but I didn't want to wait, so I decided that I was going to get myself kicked out in hopes that I would be able to move in with my aunt sooner. Like for part 2. Part 2 about why my aunt put me back into foster care. So like I said, I found a way that I was going to get kicked out, and it was by fighting this girl. And yes, I won. But fast forward, eventually my sisters and I move in with my aunt. And if you guys ever heard the phrase honeymoon, you probably think of a relationship, right? Wrong. I was actually shocked about how fast everything went downhill whenever we got there. Like eventually my cousins just started being mean to me for no reason, while they favored my sisters. And when I say cousins, you guys are probably thinking they're around my age. No, they were actually in their 20s. Hell, one was even close to 30. Like, these were grown-ass adults beating on a 15-year-old. So eventually, my cousins, my aunt, and I are fighting almost every single day. And the one day, my sister and I got into an argument that eventually turned into us fighting. And my cousins love to jump in every fight that my sister and I have. Well, they jumped in this fight, and instead of helping break it up, they actually made it worse. The one was holding my leg down, and eventually I got it up and I kicked her in the face. And my aunt thought that it was my fault, so she sent me to foster.
Today's secret comes from Sarah. Hi guys. I want to tell you a story about a friend of mine. Let's call her Sammy. Back in 2021, I rented an apartment and was letting Sammy live with me rent-free as she was having a really hard time. I wanted to help her out, so I said to her, all I really need from you is to occasionally help with the groceries. For context, I was working full-time in retail and she was working about 2 days a week in hospitality. However, this wasn't our long-term play. We both wanted to become actors and were trying really hard to crack into the industry. We bonded a heap over how tough a career path it is, but it got complicated at times. As I'm sure you can imagine, it's really common in the industry to be rejected from roles. Sammy really struggled with rejection and would tend to get jealous pretty easily. For example, if I ever landed a role that she auditioned for, she would ignore me for a few days, then act like nothing at all happened. I figured it was always a bit of a red flag, but I didn't think too much of it at the time. It was around this time that we both auditioned for a role in a new Netflix show.
Oh, get it.
Oh. We both got through to the final callbacks, and then I heard nothing. With that in mind, I assumed neither of us got the role. A few weeks later, she told me she got promoted at work and would now be working more.
She's lying.
However, she said she was still worried about paying rent, so I told her we could reevaluate the issue later. Eventually, it got to the point where I was not really getting anywhere with any career path I was on. It wasn't working in retail, and the acting thing was getting really hard. I decided to chase another dream of mine and go to Europe. 10 months later, I was there. I continued to pay rent while I was away, while Sammy still lived in the apartment. However, halfway through my trip, I got a call from my sister.
Uh-oh.
She asked me why I did not tell her Sammy was in a new Netflix show. I was floored. I had absolutely no idea Sammy was in the show, and it was even weirder because I had been talking to her while I was away and she didn't mention it. Not once. Something did not sit right with me. I decided to scroll through my past call logs and found a call from a casting agency I did not remember taking, as I had accidentally left my phone at home that day. So I called the agency.
I'm going to faint. Please don't. We need you on this episode.
Okay. I called the agency and spoke to a representative to ask what the call was regarding all those months ago.
She's done a School of Rock. This is Mistress Schneebly.
No. It turns out they had actually offered me the role and that I had declined the job.
I can't breathe.
Apparently, my profile was removed from the agency as they were told I, quote, no longer wanted to be an actor. After that, I did some more investigating and found that all my headshots and showreels had been deleted from my cloud and all my saved folders.
Fuck. What?
All my work was gone.
Oh no.
Maybe I will faint as well. We need both of you. Once I found this out, I went to talk to my friend about it, but she was screening my calls. I was halfway across the world, and there was nothing else I could do but try to call her. When I returned home 3 weeks later, all of her stuff was out of my apartment and no one knew how to get in contact with her.
Shaking.
I like to believe that I worked hard to get where I am, and I like to believe I am a kind person. But I really do not know how to feel about this entire situation, other than feeling like my dreams were ripped out from underneath me. A week ago, I got a message from an unknown number, spoiler, it was her, asking to go and get coffee. Part of me really wants to meet up with her and just ask her why she lied about so many things. But another part of me just wants to politely decline and never talk to her again.
Am I wrong for ambushing my sister at her wedding because she told me her wedding was child-free when it wasn't? My 46 male sister Tracy, 26 female, and I aren't close but have a good relationship. She got married recently and told me the wedding was child-free. Now I have a daughter, Ella, 12 female, so I asked if she could come, but she said sorry, her and her partner were sticking to the rules. I managed to arrange for Ella to stay at a friend's house for a couple days since the wedding was in a different city. But when I went to the wedding, I saw quite a few older children, including my other siblings' kids. I know it sounds like I should have known, but I never thought to ask my siblings if their kids were coming because I was told it was child-free. Am I wrong for ambushing my sister at her wedding reception because she told me her wedding was child-free but it wasn't? I asked my brother at the wedding and he said he was told the child-free limit was only for really young kids. It was obvious Tracy lied to me about not bringing Ella. So we went through the ceremony and towards the end of the reception, I pulled Tracy aside and said I realized she completely lied to me and there were plenty of other kids. She looked pretty uncomfortable and said it wasn't a big deal, but I replied I need an apology and so does Ella. She got mad and said I ambushed her at her own wedding and it's her and her partner's choice what they do. I really feel like it might be because my daughter's arm was amputated and now she wants the apology. Am I wrong for not letting my girlfriend wear a bikini in front of my family? So me, 26 male, and my girlfriend, 22 female, have been dating for 2 years. We've had our ups and downs, but overall we have a great relationship and I see a future together. The thing is, we come from 2 different backgrounds. I have a Muslim background and she is white. However, we still have made it work and our similarities are much more than our differences. Now, my girlfriend does like wearing short clothing when out and about, which did bother me at first and made me uncomfortable, but I have came to terms with it. But recently an embarrassing situation happened at my cousin's house. My cousin held a pool party and my parents were there too. Am I wrong for not letting my girlfriend wear a bikini in front of my family? So once again, I come from a Muslim background and she is white. There was a pool party at my cousin's house and my parents were there too. I recently introduced my girlfriend to my parents as well, so this was a good time for her to meet my family and relatives. I specifically asked her to pack something more on the modest side as my family would be there. She didn't give much of a response and just nodded. But what did I see in the pool? Her wearing a 2-piece bikini, which was kind of a cheeky bottom too. Even a 1-piece would have been better, but nah, she went all in this time. No one said anything afterwards, but I was so embarrassed. I couldn't even show my face to my parents at all. Her response was, I can wear what I want. Am I wrong for treating my father-in-law like a fool in public? My hubby and I were on vacation with our 4-year-old son, and my husband's parents came as well. We were all walking around enjoying our time and saw some teens or young adults dancing really well.
My son loves music and dancing, so he was excited and practically begged us to watch them perform. They were extremely talented and my son loved it. The song and dance were pretty feminine, but 2 of the dancers were male. My husband and I thought nothing of this, and neither did my son, but my in-laws were put off. My father-in-law looked a little disgusted for lack of better words and was especially concerned when he noticed my son mimicking the dance.